Let's talk about your absolute favorite topic, but it's phthalates.
So we're looking for a product or a material that's free of the phthalates. At this point, come up with what may be a solution, and we're in the final stages of testing.
Some of the value that we bring to our customers is we see it early, so we can really tackle those things head on multiple fronts and provide that value across the board. All right, welcome to another episode of Inspiring Innovation. Today we've got with us Michelle Coleman, our division manager over fire and safety with an extensive career in aviation and aerospace. And Michelle, can you just kind of let us know a little bit about your background, you know, where you came from? I know there was a period in Alaska and you were flying planes, and then how'd you find your way over to Polo?
Sure, Sean. Well, thanks for having me again.
Yeah.
Well, I started out in it was what now is Honeywell, in a manufacturing setting. Just when I was very young, soldering parts on a line, and kind of moved up from there.
That's
and
cool.
took on took on just varying responsibilities over the years.
Yeah.
Import, export, managing teams, managing some pretty large transitions. I worked on a customer excellence team, solving, big issues with different customers over the years. I was there for about 13 years, and then I moved to a smaller manufacturing company that made parts for general aviation aircraft.
Nice.
And that ended up taking me to Alaska for about 5 years as part of a distributorship that was up there.
Nice.
And then from there I came back, went to work for another small aviation company that made hoses, aircraft hoses. And that led me then to Polo.
Nice.
It's been almost 5 years.
Was that one's in Kansas City, right?
Yeah,
That's
Olathe.
Yeah. Nice. Well, you've done a heck of a job at Polo, and we're really lucky to have you with all that considered. And you were my first hire.
Yeah, I remember that. I know. About a month apart.
Frame, and learned a lot together. So
definitely.
I appreciate all that you've done, and you're so good with our customers, and still working through the different challenges that come up as a manufacturer. And manufacturing, I like to say that manufacturing is hard, but we also, and people say that across the industry that are making one product line.
Yeah.
We make 862 different product lines.
It adds a little different dimension to the picture,
there's something
right?
every day that's different and custom and unique, and you've worked really well to provide solutions to our customers and to get those teams and people in place to work together to get product out the door that's on time and with no quality issues and at the best price that we can do it. So you do a great job with that. Let's talk about your absolute favorite topic. And I don't even know if I'm saying it right, because I always joke about the spelling of it, but it's phthalates.
Yes, I think that's close enough.
Is that right?
We'll go with that. Yeah, sure.
It starts with the P in the spelling, so I've jokingly referred to it as phthalates.
Right.
But we know that there's a lot of regulations coming down the line. Usually that stuff starts in Europe, it's adopted by California, then, nationally. And so we know that we've had to resource some of our raws, and that's quite the process, and probably something that other customers in our aviation space and prospects are facing as well. So can you just walk us through what that process has been like in trying to solve that issue for one of our aviation customers? Sure.
Well, as you mentioned, it starts internationally typically. So we're looking for a product or a material that's free of the phthalates, which is kind of added a little bit of a challenge because it's a new requirement, and then it's subject to interpretation in some ways as well, because is it really phthalate-free, or is it just under a certain parameter, basically? And so there are some pieces of it that are subject to interpretation, which adds a little bit more difficulty, or maybe not difficulty, but another dimension to trying to figure out what to do. We're still in the midst right now of working with a supplier to see what our options might be. And then we've, at this point, come up with what may be a solution, and we're in the final stages of testing. So we need to do some proof testing, basically, to make sure that it will weld correctly, seal correctly, if it will perform as the current material does. So we're working through that with one customer, and I fully expect that we will start seeing that type of requirement across the board going forward, because it will trickle down, and we'll eventually have to address it in several areas, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that's some of the value that we bring to our customers is we see it early, and we have similar themes across the board in these industries, so we can really tackle those things head on multiple fronts and provide that value across the board. And no two solutions look alike. I mean, you know, what it is for one customer, it might be something different for another, but we're well versed, I feel like, in being prepared to work with their engineering team, with our sourcing team, getting the documentation, getting our quality checks in place so that we're in a good spot for it. So another quality intensive process that we're heavily dealing with right now is transfers. You know, we're in an exciting time in which, in fact, there was a ribbon cutting at one of our facilities that we're expanding on today. And so we're opening 2 new plants right now. And so we're really optimizing where our products are made and what capabilities we have where, and having that redundancy for our customers. But transfers can be labor intensive, and there can be a lot of involvement both from our customers' end and from our end and our quality teams to ensure that there's no hitches in process, there's no quality defects, there's no hiccups along the way. So what have been some learning lessons, some best practices, and some successes that you've had with your customers lately with some of the transfer activity?
Well, we've just began, as you said. We've had one successful transfer so far for one of my customers, where we moved a product from the Monticello facility to the Topeka facility. It's gone very well. I think that the team that's working on this has done a very good job at putting together steps, and I think we're learning as we go. Customers, of course, would like to have notification that their products are being transferred, and there are steps that need to be taken. We had one of our customers come and check out the processes at the Topeka facility to make sure that they were, in line with what was being done previously in Monticello. There's a lot of steps to it. There's machine moving, there's BOM creation, bill of material creation, and making sure it gets transferred correctly, making sure that all of the administrative pieces get transferred as well. So
even shipping specs.
Oh everything. I mean, everything has to be transferred over. And I think we're still learning, and I think we'll get better as we go with this, definitely, and no more. It'll just become a process that we can just, perform and do it without a hitch.
All right. So this is a fun deal. You recently, thankfully, your passport was up to date. Not everything always goes right in manufacturing, inevitably. And so you recently went up to Canada and you went to our customer's customer, and there was a lot that happened for us to work with the customer to right this situation. So can you tell us a little bit about your recent endeavors up to Canada to work with our customer's customer? Because it's not. Sometimes people think sales is this glamorous job with all this travel, and I wouldn't say that this was an example of that. I'd say
No, I wouldn't say so either. But basically, We had a customer who identified a quality issue in the field and notified me right away that this had taken place. And we met and discussed, how we were going to handle this. All of the product was at the end user and customer site. And so it was determined that the best way to handle it would be to actually go on site and inspect all of the product there, as opposed to bringing it back and going through the shipping channels to get it back to us. My customer, sent a team to the site, and our quality director and our sales rep and myself volunteered to go inspect as well. Not only for several reasons. One, to get firsthand knowledge of what the defects were, and two, to present a picture to their customer, our customer and their customer, that we are willing to do whatever it takes to make it right. We're willing to dig in and actually pull units off of a shelf and tear them apart and figure out what's wrong with it, and try to right it. Basically, what we wanted to do was present a united front. That we, we're working with our customer to serve their customer, to make sure that everything was righted, was correct, and everybody's happy at the end of the day. It was not glamorous. There was actually physical pulling units off of shelves, and
this is heavy duty safety gear.
This is heavy duty,
too.
We're 25, 30 pounds of gear, and there were 680 some units, and it was
and you're snapping buckles and doing labor intense, and it was warm too, wasn't it? Or,
it was it was interesting. However, at the end of the day, I think that our group that went got a great picture of what the equipment's actually used for, how it's used, what all goes into, we build the product, we ship it to our customer, and that's really usually it. That's the end of the process. But to see what happens on the end, the other side of it, from when our customer serves their customer, and to be able to see how that all happens and what goes into it from there. I think it was actually a really positive experience at the end of the day.
I mean, at the end of the day, we enhanced the design of the product for the use that we were able to see in the field.
Yes.
And it was used a little differently than we understood it was going to be used. And it sounds like we're even getting different equipment for future production that is basically the manufacturer's recommendation for that snap for these parts. And so, I mean, we dialed in different parameters to make the part more reliable so that it wouldn't run into some of the issues of it being used a little differently than it was designed to be used. But at the end of the day, I think we became better understanding of how the product was used and how we can manufacture it more reliably at the end of the day. So
absolutely.
And the other thing that, I mean, just from a true partnership standpoint, they probably wouldn't have gotten through it all if you guys hadn't been up there.
No, because there were three of us, and it was a solid 2 days of 9 hours or so. And it would have taken another few days for sure. But it was a good experience. We'll just call it that. But and I think we took away some knowledge that we'll be able to use going forward that will make us better too.
Yep. Well, and I will say, you don't shy away from hard manual labor. You have lots of land, you have horses, you take care of stuff. So you're not you don't shy away from that stuff. But I do laugh at like all your business travel must be so glamorous. And it's like, typically we're in industrial park in XYZ state or city or whatever. And it's like, same kind of hotel room everywhere. And, you're in and out. You don't often get a chance to explore. There's sometimes that you do, and there are sometimes we get to go to cool places. But I just think that's a good example of going beyond for a customer and the level of partnership that Polo provides as well. So you're kind of in several markets. You have some safety markets, you have some military markets and aviation. What would you say is similar and what would you say is different in those markets, and how do you navigate that for our customers?
Yeah, so the similar.
But before we get into that, this podcast is brought to you by Polo Custom Products. We are a custom manufacturer that specializes in sewing, sealing, and thermoforming. We work with project engineers, sourcing professionals, and buyers to design, engineer, and manufacture products that cannot afford to fail. If you're interested in working with us, visit our website at www.polocustomproducts.com and fill out a request for quote form. Now, back to the show.
Piece would be they all have regulations. The different piece would be what those regulations are.
Yes,
I mean, every segment is a little different with their specifications around. For instance, like berry compliance for the military, and even for military, not. Some domestic customers require that as well. So basically we have to stick to those regulations and make sure we're sourcing materials domestically, we're manufacturing all domestically. And then there are different, even within fire and safety, I have a customer that serves first responders. So it's not necessarily a fire and safety product, but it's a fire and safety market.
Yeah.
And those have FDA regulations. So
Right.
they're all a little bit different, but yeah, the one common theme is that they're all regulated in some way that we
Right.
need to be
Right.
very conscientious about when we're quoting or starting a new project.
Yeah. It's funny, as we're looking at like different quality certifications, I'm like, what's another one?
Yeah.
And I say that lightly when I know our quality folks would probably roll their eyes at that, because I know it's a lot of work to get certified,
Yeah.
but I'm like, you all are pros at it and you're doing the same things. You might document it differently, or you might need this kind of documentation, and for this, for the FDA versus the FAA versus a COC, or,
Right.
so there's all sorts of different ways to slice it up, but they do similar things across all those industries. So it's almost a matter of which acronyms you're using.
Yeah. I mean, it's to some extent true.
But quality at the end of the day is quality, and they're we've got a really talented team that makes sure that we're checking all the boxes and doing all the right things.
We do.
This question is about trust in our customers, and we've already mentioned some examples of times where things don't always go right. And so how do you maintain trust, and how do you grow those relationships when a hiccup happens, or when, a supplier changes a resin, or, the things that we deal with and work collaboratively with our customers to solve?
Yeah. I mean, I think it really all comes down to, being upfront and honest with the customer as soon as you have knowledge that something's occurred, whether it be something that we can control or not control. I think most importantly, to keep that trust is just being very transparent.
Yep.
And letting them know what's exactly going on, and putting as much detail and fact behind it as you can. Every company deals with this in one way or another. Our customers deal with this on their end to their customers. And so I think that they understand and will work with you as long as you're giving your best to inform them in a timely manner, and to show that you are working through this the best you can, and helping them to find solutions.
I oversay this, but early bad news is good news.
Yeah.
And then the level of partnership that we have with our customers earned before you and I were here, but
Right.
also continued under our time is just getting the right people together to come up with
Right.
what's needed on their end, what's needed on our end, what's needed from a supplier, what do we need to do to get all the pieces to connect so that we can ultimately get that product out the door.
It's definitely a collaborative effort between the customer and the Polo team, and I think just continuing that and going down that path for anything that comes up is what helps to keep and maintain that trust.
To build on that, we mentioned, engineers need to be involved when there's something, quality needs to be involved, supply chain needs to be involved. And that's the nature of our work. And so when something does come up and something happens and there's urgent deadlines to hit, what does that communication look like behind the scenes where you're quarterbacking, that solution and getting the right people to get the right input?
Do you want me to include the panic or exclude that?
Yeah, the sleepless nights.
Basically it's just going down the list of who all you need to involve and building upon that. Most anything can be solved, or at least solved to some sort of satisfaction on our part and the customer's part with the right team. It's just learning and putting the right team of people together to address the issues. Yeah, when it's urgent though, it can be a little stressful, just trying to get this, you need an answer right now. And sometimes those answers just aren't there. And that makes it difficult when no one can come up with an answer because the answer is not obvious. Yeah,
I know. I remember a time where, with one of your customers where they happened to be visiting the plant and one of our samples had failed a test. And it turned out, we got the people on the phone call that weren't able to come to talk through it. And we just found out basically that it was the wrong testing parameter. Yeah. We needed it to text one of our RF sealed products to withstand so much pressure for so many seconds. And I think it was either that the seconds were off or that the pressure was too high.
Right.
And so it was bursting every time, but it wasn't because it was a bad seal. It was a consistent burst in the right place. But the parameter was just off, and there's lots of room for error. With lots of smart people from different teams working together with lots of part numbers to launch these products.
Right.
That most people take for granted into the world. So
sometimes the answers aren't obvious, and we all tend to look for the most obvious answer, but sometimes it can take a group of people and just kind of checking off the list of all the different processes to find where the problem originates.
Right. Yeah, especially with RF sealing, I think not one of your customers, but there was one that we were validating, and there was we thought, well, it was the tooling or the tray and then the oscillator, and there's so many different factors that can lead to what might lead to an inconsistency in the production. And so never a dull moment.
Absolutely not. I mean, that is, you can look at that, I think, as a positive, though. I mean, it's always a learning experience, always learning something new. And you can usually take what you learn and apply it to the next issue.
Definitely. Some of our customers are considering making it in-house versus sending it to a custom contract manufacturer like Polo. Why would you tell a customer or a prospect making this make or buy decision to go with Polo?
One of the main reasons would be because of our experience around regulations, around manufacturing processes already, things that we know work and don't work well, regulations that we know that maybe are subject to some interpretation, and we've taken the time and to research these things and to really understand what's necessary. I think that given our extensive product line and all of the things that we manufacture and have manufactured, we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of, like I said, what works and what doesn't work. I think that we can save a potential customer who is, looking at taking it in-house. We can save them a lot of time, and time equals money. And really those are the main reasons, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, we may not even be the cheapest manufacturer out there, but we're going to solve all those problems as a partner and as an expert within these capabilities, an expert within those materials, an expert within this industry that has seen whatever it is they're going through multiple times and multiple ways with customers like them, with products like theirs. And so, so at the end of the day, I mean, we can really be a useful partner, and sometimes it's hard to quantify all of that. When somebody is doing a make versus buy, the time that they're going to save with us, the heavy lifting that, our engineers, our quality professionals are doing on our end, we capture some of those costs in the way that we quote things, but there's a lot that I don't think is considered when you're just looking at the cost to make it in-house. A lot of that indirect support adds up.
Well, we take a lot of the trial and error that they might see away from that equation by with our experience and with our knowledge.
All right. So looking ahead, where do you see the real growth? Where do you see kind of pressure in the markets that you're serving? Whether that's regulation, reshoring, berry and domestic demand. What are you seeing right now, and where is Polo well positioned to help our customers and prospects?
Yeah, Sean, I think regulatory changes and regulations as
constant.
It is. It's constant. And I think that, I think there are some opportunities around that as well that we're seeing. We are seeing a lot more requirements for berry compliance. And I think that we will continue to do so. And I think that we'll see a lot of growth because of both of those.
In the world of tariffs, military spending, there's a lot to that, but we're also well positioned for nearshoring.
Right.
Our domestic capacity is increasing. And so, and we're dealing with those quality regulations and sourcing changes frequently. So Polo's well positioned to help anyone in the midst of the chaos. And I'd say, whether you're in manufacturing or other industries, I feel like everybody's feeling disruption and changing times. And so it's a fun and interesting time to be alive, but I think Polo is well positioned to thrive in that chaos. And
I would agree.
Yeah. And serve the customers and advise them too through some of these changes that are rolling down the pike. So
absolutely.
Michelle, thank you for joining us today. It was really awesome Sean. To have you on the podcast. And again, the relationships that you've built with our customers has served Polo really well. It served our customers really well. And so we really appreciate you coming on the podcast today and all that you do for Polo.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.